cannot be beaten. So if I beat Tabang, Tabang can report and take me to court and say I assaulted him. But when an adult does that to a children, they could get away with it in the name of discipline. So what we were saying was that it is unacceptable. Can we have other ways to discipline children that do not include violence, right? So on 18 September 2019, the Constitutional Court declared the common law defense of reasonable chastisement, which allowed parents to spank their children, invalid and unconstitutional. So the judgment now means that any use of force or violence when disciplining a child is now illegal. And it equates to assault, and parents can be criminally prosecuted for it. So there's no defense. So this means that the criminal law on assault applies equally to assault on children as well as to adults. So now adults and children are equally protected by the law. No one can hit anyone and raise any sort of defense. So this means that parents cannot use violence as a form of discipline against their children, even in the home. But this does not mean that children cannot be disciplined. But parents must use positive discipline methods, right? So even before we start talking about changing the law in the Children's Act, I want to make it very clear that the court judgment is the law on this. It is the law. So it effectively tells us that no one has a right to hit a child in the name of discipline. So what I want us to think about is there anything else we need to put in law, particularly the Children's Act, that can help us with discipline in the home, right? So before we get into the discussions, I want to just distinguish, there's a difference between punishment and discipline, right? So if you can see there on my slide, punishment means to correct, to chastise, to take vengeance for or inflict or cause pain for an offense. We're together, right? But discipline means instruction, giving, teaching, learning, and knowledge. So as one of the organizations that was advocating for a prohibition of corporal punishment in the home, we were arguing for the use of positive discipline techniques in raising children. And here we emphasize talking and seeking long-term solutions that can develop a child's own self-discipline, clear communication of expectations between the parent and the child, teaching children lifelong skills, increasing a child's competence and confidence to handle challenging situations, teaching courtesy, non-violence, empathy, self-respect, human rights, and respect for others. So the context here is to look at how violent South African society is. So if you teach your child to use violence whenever there's a problem, there's no way when they get to be an adult, they're going to opt for other ways because they'll always go back to what they were taught. So what we're saying is that as parents, as caregivers, there's need for us to engage in different ways of disciplining our children, and violence is not one of them. So some of the things that I would want us to discuss, these are the questions. Taban, can you see the questions? Hello? Taban?
Yes, we can see.
Can you see the questions?
No. Sure. Yeah, we can see.
So these are the questions that I would want us to discuss. So the first question pertains to what do the children or the participants in this group, what do they think should happen to parents who continue to use corporal punishment at home?
Can you hear us?
No, I cannot hear you.
Yeah, sorry, it's raining here. No, so now there's a lot of rain.
Okay, sorry, but I can hear you. I can't hear other people in the background.
What's it? Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Yes. The question is for the young people or for the coordinators as well.
It's for everyone. If the young people or if the adults wants to respond, I think they can.
Well, I think for making a child, it's not a bad thing, because like, you know, like your own child. I mean, I'm talking about my own child. It's making the child, to correct the child. I don't think it's a bad thing for me.
Okay. You don't think it's a bad thing?
No, it's not a bad thing, because it can teach the child that if he or she does a wrong thing, that he know that he will get a little smack from his father or mother.
Okay.
Like your own child, not other people's children.
Yeah. Not other people's children.
Mm.
Okay. All right. Okay, so but now the law is the law. So now if you hit your child, you think it's okay to hit your child. Now if your child goes and reports to the police, you've essentially committed a crime. How do you think they should deal with you? Because one of the biggest problems, or one of the greatest concerns that came out when the Constitutional Court handed down the judgment, was that parents thought they were going to be criminalized and sent to jail for disciplining their children. And so one of the things now is that the judgment is there, but one of the things that it doesn't actually provide in detail is what should happen to parents who continue to use corporal punishment at home. So whether you are reported by the child or the police actually see you beating your child, what sort of process do you think we should put in law for parents to help parents with positive discipline? Because ideally we would want them to stop using violence as a disciplining method at home.
But that's how we were taught when we were young, that if you've done something wrong, then you get a smack, then you will know exactly with the name, no, I won't go up again to do the same mistake. But now, if the law now decided to take this away, that means the children will be doing whatever they like, because even those laws that you're putting, you know, like you says we have this law or these consequences we should use for young people, it's not working for young people, not at all.
Okay, I hear you. I hear you. I don't know. So we've opened this up to discussion. I want to hear what other people think so that I can stop talking now and do the listening. Tabang?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if I can say something.
Yeah, sure, you can.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because on the first question, I think the problem is that most of the time you're gonna find that when adults are disciplining their children at home, so yes, there's a norm that they are abusing the children, but does the law gonna protect the child only, or is also gonna protect the adult? Or the parents are gonna be given platform or maybe training, like to say, okay, if you want to discipline your child, these are the rules that you need to follow, or you need to do this and this and this. Because sometimes we do make rules for only certain people, but we don't come to those vulnerable communities where children don't know, where parents don't know about these laws, and the children don't know about these laws. So are they gonna be both protected, the child and the adult?
So for that's a good question, and I don't know if you're posing that question to me or it's for everyone to discuss.
No, I think everyone can discuss it.
Okay. Do you want to give maybe people there to a first opportunity to respond, and then I can respond later?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Tabang.
Tabang, what was your question? Then?
Okay, my question was, remember we come from vulnerable communities, so where most of the parents and the children, they are not aware about these laws. So my question is, will this law protect both the child and the adult? Because we must not only look at the children, we must look at both sides.
I get you.
Tabang, we cannot hear anything.
It's raining here. We are just losing the sound, but we are just trying to listen what you guys are saying.
Oh, okay. So I'm also listening to see what people think the law does, but I can go if we're still waiting for other people to respond. I think what
Okay.
the emphasis in the Children's Act is to protect children, right? It's children's rights. And but what we're providing or what we're advocating is support for parents who use corporal punishment at home. So one of the things I think that's come to the fore pertains to prevention and early intervention. So the first time around, depending on how severe the corporal punishment was, a parent will be referred to a program where they will be taught about positive discipline. But if the child is hurt and is injured seriously, then there's nothing that can be done to protect the parent against criminal sanctions, because that is abuse. If you beat your child and you hurt them severely and the police or the social worker thinks that this case should go through court processes, there's nothing anybody can do. But the position in the first point of call in the Children's Act is to say when a parent uses corporal punishment and whoever it's reported to thinks that the parent must go to prevention and early intervention program, they will direct them there. But if they also think that the parent was severe in using the violence or in using corporal punishment, then it has to go through the courts. There's nothing that can happen to the parent. So here is to protect children. We all know the rate of violence against women and children and violence at home particularly. So to answer your question, parents will be guided and children will be protected.
Okay, yeah, it's clear now, I understand.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any more questions and comments pertaining to the first question, or should we move to the second question?
We can move to the second question if there's no comment.
No,
okay, so the
my
children.
Is that,
Yeah.
Yes, Peter.
yes, my question is that you the presenter said that the children will be protected by the Children's Act, and then the parents will be guided. Who will be guiding the parents?
So we've
the parents they don't have any rights.
Yeah, parents never had any rights, sir, to correct you. But in terms of the Children's Act, there are provisions to support and guide parents. So what I said earlier about being referred to prevention and early intervention, where a parent will be made aware of positive disciplining methods. So one of the things that we want to advocate for is the rollout of training programs or educational campaigns to help parents understand what other methods there are or what other methods exist to discipline their children. So by removing the defense, we're not saying children cannot be disciplined. We're just saying we can't use violence to discipline our children. So that's why now there's prevention and early intervention programs that we think parents should be made aware of so that they can use alternative ways to discipline their children. I don't know if that is clear.
Okay, Isabella.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I don't know. Maybe it's because I feel like this law, we are too much focused on the children. Yes, we need to protect them, but we are too much focusing on the children. And also, let's remember that these children, they stay with their parents who are the adults. And if it's like that, we don't know the behavior of the child. So does this law is gonna give only powers to the child to say, because the child will be saying, I have the rights, you cannot punish me, you cannot do whatever. Their behavior now maybe will change. But at some point, we need to look at this perspective of the adults. On the side of the adults, do we also protect the adults and say, okay, if the child shows this behavior, what parents should do? You see, not only saying, yes, we protect the children, it's fine, we understand. Corporal punishment is not right for them. But now, if the child shows certain behavior, so what should the adult do? I think this law also should include on the processes that the parents should also do and follow in order if they see the behavior of the child that they think it's not appropriate.
So do you think this is something that should be covered in the Children's Act?
Exactly.
Okay. So we can make a note of that. Whoever is going to report in the report back session, in the plenary, they should make a note of this and say, this is one of the recommendations that came from the discussion session. Because in this way, we're ensuring that discipline is still a thing and children do not run wayward, right? We want a balanced approach.
Yes, that balanced approach between a child and the adult, because the children are staying with their adults. So we mustn't be, this law mustn't be looking at some instances where now it's going to look like now we are giving the children the powers to do whatever they want because they know that they are protected by the law. There must be balance between the child and the parent, the one who's guiding the child.
Yes. So if you remember when I started or during my presentation, I emphasized that us saying that children cannot be beaten or we cannot use violence does not mean that children cannot be disciplined. Exactly. This also does not mean that children do not have a responsibility at home to be respectful and to be mindful of how they interact. We're not taking away all of that. The only thing we're taking away is the use of violence. So that's why now we need to replace that with talking to the children, with putting in mechanisms that protect the children, but also capacitates and helps parents understand what they need to do.
Understandable.
Okay, great. So the second question is, how can we protect children who report being beaten? So one of the things is that before the Constitutional Court judgment, children would go and report to the police or to social workers that they're being beaten at home. And these reports were not taken seriously. In the name of your parents have got a right to discipline you. But now that we know the use of violence is unacceptable, how can we make sure that children who report being beaten are taken seriously? What needs to change in law to help children report violence at home? Is there anything that needs to happen, that needs to change? Do you have any children at that side, Taban?
Yes, I do. I'm just telling them here to speak.
Yeah, they need to. So this is the part where they should speak and say, this is what we think can change in the law, or this is how things can work for us. I would want to hear what the children think needs to happen in terms of the law to protect them and to help them report violence at home.
They are listening. Respond.
Okay. Good day, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Julian. I think that the current officials that we go and
So those comments, if they go and look on the parliamentary website, parliamentary monitoring group website, there's a link. I think there's an email they can send their submissions to, but they must send them before the 27th of November.
Okay, no problem. We're gonna do that.
So they must write what they think the law needs to put in place, particularly with this second point on reporting, how they can ensure, or how they can, what ideas they think should be put in place to help children who report. So whether it be when they report to a teacher, because the teacher is the closest to them, whether they report to a social worker, or whether they report to the police. What sort of ideas do they have that they think the law should include to help them report and be protected, to ensure that at least that ban on corporal punishment, it stops at home?
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, the use of corporal punishment stops at home.
Okay, for my comment also, I would also recommend that since they are staying in their community, there are some leaders, church leaders, child and care workers, like early intervention child and care workers. So I think for them, it's gonna be easy for them if they report, because they know that if they report to them, then they're gonna take that matter seriously and forward it to the social worker or to the relevant stakeholders. So I think for that one, they need to specify that, no, this is where we're gonna report, and they know what steps are gonna be followed after reporting the punishment.
The incident.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have a comment pertaining to the second question, or can we move to the third question?
Where is Peter? Peter, you are quiet.
No, I'm listening. Now, what I wanted to ask was that this law is only focusing at home. What about in schools, where the teachers are beating the children?
So, as you know, Peter, it's Peter, right?
Yes, Peter.
Yes. So corporal punishment in schools was abolished a long time ago. So now I think what's going to happen, now that we have the Constitutional Court judgment, is that we are going to be, or organizations and the government are going to be stricter on teachers who use corporal punishment. So if a teacher is found to have used corporal punishment, there is nothing that's going to stop that teacher from getting prosecuted.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah, so in the past, before we got the corporal punishment judgment, it was difficult because our teachers are also our parents at home. So you find that the teacher uses corporal punishment at home, and then they come to school, they still think it's okay, but they know that the law does not allow them to use corporal punishment. But now that the ban is clear and there's no exceptions, now we need to start being strict so that everybody, teachers included, takes the ban very seriously. So previously it was difficult to enforce the ban in the school. The schools were not taking reports by children seriously. But I think now going forward, much more is going to happen in terms of prosecuting teachers who use